Hello and welcome to Crypto News. Today, 10 of the 7th, 2026, and the top crypto news is as follows. We will start today's episode with Binance, which may finally be coming to Europe. What is happening now is that Binance is in talks with regulatory authorities who have invited the exchange to apply for a license in their own country, following its withdrawal from the MiCA framework in Greece. This is according to Binance's co-CEO, who also told us that the discussions are still at an early stage, and he declined to identify which jurisdiction has invited the exchange. So Binance may come to Europe, but it is not certain, as the talks are still very much in their early stages. Moving on, we will also visit a bank today, and that bank is Sony Bank, which also wants to go deeper into crypto. Sony Bank has secured conditional approval from the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency in America to establish a national bank, bringing the Japanese financial group Sony closer to issuing its own stablecoin, which will be pegged to the dollar. It is worth mentioning that Sony as a company has officially launched its own blockchain, as you know, so here is yet another giant slowly embracing crypto. Shifting our focus, we move on to the Ethereum Foundation, which recognizes the threats it must face. I know that the first threat it must address is artificial intelligence, and then quantum computers, and it is doing exactly that, as the Ethereum Foundation is using swarms of artificial intelligence agents to attack Ethereum itself before anyone else does. Researchers at the Ethereum Foundation's protocol security team have stated that they have deployed a series of artificial intelligence agents against Ethereum's own software, essentially searching for vulnerable points in the protocol's code and smart contracts so that they can find and resolve them first before anyone else does. And they are absolutely right to do so, and all major currencies should be doing something similar. From Ethereum, we move to an Ethereum Layer 2, Arbitrum, which has gained 70%. This is a price increase you could have predicted. Thanks to the information brought to you by Crypto News, and I will explain what I mean. First, let me tell you that this rise in Arbitrum came thanks to Robinhood, and specifically the Robinhood chain. The Robinhood chain, built using Arbitrum's technology and launched about 1 week ago, has processed over $568 million in daily trading volume on Wednesday and over $350 million on Thursday, according to on-chain data. Part of this activity was driven by a surge in memecoin transactions, while the network's stablecoin balances have also risen very quickly to $260 million in the first week. As a side note on the memecoin topic, let me tell you that someone put $800 into a memecoin on the Robinhood chain and turned it into over $1 million. The memecoin is called CashCat, which surged sharply and made someone a millionaire. Getting back to our main story, this activity translates into revenue for Arbitrum, because under the agreement, 10% of the Robinhood chain's net protocol revenue is returned to the Arbitrum ecosystem, distributed between the DAO treasury and the developer guild. So this is why Arbitrum is rising, because the Robinhood chain is seeing very high activity. And of course, we had mentioned on CryPTONEWS on the 2nd of this month that Robinhood was building its own Ethereum Layer 2 with technology and support from Arbitrum itself. So in a way, you could have predicted that if the Robinhood chain performed well, it would greatly benefit Arbitrum, as well as it appears to be doing for now. Continuing with our broader crypto market, Bitcoin is sitting at around $63,000 to $64,000. We are comfortably above our support levels, which is very nice, but of course the general economic picture is not yet very strong. For this reason, the Bank of Japan may accelerate its interest rate increases. It should be noted that, as is being said, it is not certain, but the Bank of Japan may raise its benchmark interest rate rapidly this year as the yen weakens. This is the latest warning given by a former Bank of Japan official. Mr. Tsutomu, a professor of economics at the University of Tokyo, who left the central bank in 1999. So from his perspective, he says the bank must raise interest rates very quickly, and this is something he predicts will happen. And this would be very bad for the rest of the market due to the carry trade dynamics we have analyzed in previous episodes. That wraps up the top news for Crypto Today 10 of the 7th 2026. I'd like to remind you that the content you just watched is created for educational purposes only and should not be considered as investment advice, but rather as investment opinion. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and feel free to comment. Take care, everyone, and have a good day.